Launch already. We're on. Mr. Wade?
Pleasant good night again, once again, to our viewers and listeners of Belizean Affairs. Tonight, we have the 22nd edition of Belizean Affairs, and we come to you with a lot of things that is happening in this country that is directly affecting and will be affecting the Belizean people. And, it's always a pleasure to be sitting with these two gentlemen of great esteem and great knowledge. And these gentlemen that are educating the Belizean people of their constitutional rights. And we are doing it all for free, right? And it's a pleasure to be sitting here with Gregory Brackett from Belize City and Leonard Brackett from Northern California. And of course, no stranger, Roody Wade in the Cayo district. Welcome and good night to everyone. Please stay tuned and sit tight. Gregory, introduce yourself.
Good night to the Belizean. Good night to the Belizean people at home and abroad. Again, it gives me great pleasure to be able to come to this virtual platform and try to educate you guys. And this is our 22nd edition of Belizean Affairs. With that, I turn it over to my cousin, Mr. Leonard Brackett.
Thank you very much, Greg. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Wade, Mr. Real Wade, for chairing tonight's program. And I hope, my name is Leonard Brackett, and I'm one of the panelists on this fabulous show, I would call it. Exciting and very, not only exciting, but also inciting show. I hope that tonight will bring to the general public something that merits their time and attention. And we hope that everybody else will be better off for having had the opportunity to listen to what we have to say tonight. Thank you for tuning in, and God bless. Mr. Chairman?
Again, thank you, Leonard. As you know that, and our viewers and listeners know that, we always start our program with a word, and we continue from Proverbs chapter 10, 1 to 10. It says, the Proverbs of Solomon. A wise son makes a glad father, but a foolish son is a sorrow to his mother. Treasure gained by wickedness do not profit, but righteousness delivers from death. The Lord does not let the righteous go hungry, but he thwart the craving of the wicked. A slack hand causes poverty, but the hand of the diligent makes rich. He who gathers in summer is a prudent son, but he who sleeps in harvest is a son who brings shame. Blessings are on the head of the righteous, but the mouth of the wicked conceals violence. The memory of the righteous is a blessing, but the name of the wicked will rot. The wise of the heart will receive commandment, but a babbling fool will come to ruin. Whoever walks in integrity walks securely, but he who makes his ways crooked will be found out. Whoever winks the eyes causes trouble, and a babbling fool will come to ruin. That's my reading and contribution tonight. Leonard, a word, please.
Thank you very much, sir. I'd just like to offer a word of prayer. We can just close our eyes. So, Lord, wonderful, divine loving Father, once again we come before thy presence. We pray that thou mayest accept our humble expression of gratitude and thankfulness today for thy bountiful blessings and thy love and care and guidance, for the strength, the courage, the endurance that thou providest us, food and clothes and shelter. We pray that thou mayest continue to bless the rest of our family members, friends, and loved ones wherever they are, as if they are being called by name and number. We pray that thou mayest bless our friends and other extended family members. Please bless our country of Belize, its people and its leadership. Please bless this country of the United States, its people and its leadership. And please bless the rest of humanity, especially those people who are in harm's way and being hurt for no justifiable reason, and those who need clothes, health, strength, roof over their head. Loving Father, we pray that thou mayest help us to help ourselves and help others. Be with us now and always, and bless this program as we continue our endeavor. For Christ's sake, we pray this much. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Leonard, for
You're welcome.
inspiring words of courage and for us to hold steadfast in whatever we are doing. My people and nation, both at home and abroad, my two distinguished gentlemen sitting with me here tonight. You know, over the past, we have been talking about a number of things that are directly affecting us. Publicly, it's known, and we have been talking about it, and we have been calling out, and we have been calling out for better, and we have been offering solutions, and we have been, we see the trickery of this leadership that we have in this country, and we are calling them out for the wrongs that they are doing now and have been and have done to us, past and present. You know, lately, you know, we see the port war. You know, we see the way they want to fumble with our constitution, the law of the land, and we see the trickery, the connivingness, the lies, this deceitfulness of this People's United Party government. We sees the mayhem in the north of this country. We see the gang violence. We are living it. We see the state of the emergency, unconstitutional that they inflicted on the south side of Belize City again. The way they did it, totally wrong, totally against the laws of this land. But why? They have the power. The ministers, they have the power to do whatever they want to do to us and get away with it because nobody challenged them. And they know that. On this show, Leonard and Gregory, they point out, you know, what will happen? What will come next? We will see a lot of court battle on this definitive agreement, the port war. And again, who will pay? Is Mr. Briceño and his minions going to pay out of his pocket to battle the lawsuits that are coming and had started? Hell no. It's us, the poor taxpayers, will have to pay for that battle. right? We see the UDP leader who's supposed to be fighting for us, for the people, a nation. He's interested in his documentary about his life. Personally, I could care less about his life. What I care about is my people and nation. We see the fleecing of our real estate in this country, right? Who gets what and who does not get. You see these people come from nowhere and gather this vast amount of prime land only to be able to sell and make business out of it. Who are these people connected to so quickly? 2-3 days they could find this vast land and subdivide it and sell them for extraordinary amount of money. When you have the poor Belizean, band Belizean who cannot get a 50 by 100. Some of their application is in there for 5-6 years. It's a damn shame, right? And we are calling these things out and calling it out, right? When will we get it? They use their office for personal gain, right? Land is a big business in this country, and that belongs to the people. Nation, it does not belong to the PUP. It does not belong to the UDP. No, but they use it as pawn, past and present. But anyway, there's a lot going on, and we're going to jump into the court ruling of the sugar industry. My brothers, we all watched it played out, and we heard the ruling of the laundry judge, right? That was ruled unconstitutional, right? So let's talk about it, guys. Who get to do what, or who get to say what in the sugar industry, and not to mention, right, that the government had appointed a well-known PUP ex-minister. He was the best negotiator and the best person they could have found to bring the sugar industry and the farmers together. What happened? That was the only person in this whole wide country, according to Mr. Briceño and the PUP. See where we're at? Say no more. Go ahead, Greg.
I would like to turn it to my cousin first.
Yeah, sorry.
I just lost my earpiece song. I will log out and log in back. Go ahead,
Leonard, because you're well in tune of what's going on.
Thank you very much, Greg, for deferring and giving me your opportunity. Thank you, Mr. Wade, for giving me the opportunity as well to be able to kick off the show tonight. The first thing I want to say is to the listening public, please bear with us, because as usual, it seems like every program that we do, there's something new on the horizon and some other craziness going on or being put in place. And as usual, we find ourselves volunteering to kick up some dust about it. So here we go for tonight. I'm going to do a little reading before I start verbalizing or articulating personally. I'm just going to do a little reading of something that I wrote today. And it goes like this. The following comments were made by Leonard Brackett on a Facebook post thread of Channel 5 News Belize about Belize Constitution case law ruling. I went on to say, as the title to this particular little snippet that I wrote, I said, my continued vindication, as I have been telling you so, despite my detractors' dismissiveness of my effort to inform the general public and to put you in a position where you'll be able to know what's coming, and when they come, that you'll not be surprised, and you're in a better position to be able to do something about our well-being on our country's affairs. Because, again, this show is entitled Belizean Affairs, and this is show number 22 for Wednesday, 9th of August, 2023, tonight. And we're going to be talking a lot of stuff here tonight. In fact, we're not even going to be talking, we're going to be reeling up about a lot of stuff. So who vex? I'll continue on.
Amen.
The Supreme Court of Belize, Justice Patricia Farnese, judicial review per section 20 under the authority of the Belize Constitution, and referring to and relating to the following doctrines: the Supremacy Clause doctrine, and the Separation of Powers doctrine, and the Basic Structure doctrine, and the Preamble Fundamental Rights doctrine, and the Established Jurisprudence Case Law, Stare Decisis doctrine, etc. A big mouthful of a whole lot of words and a whole lot of different type of doctrines, but they all
Log in, Greg, back there. Please.
Thank you. Sorry about that, Greg. I was reading with my head down and I wasn't paying attention.
Yes.
Going back, what I just read, and I'm going to read it again for emphasis because it's a lot of viable and powerful information that even when the general public is not aware of these categories of doctrines that we are supposed to be guided by and which actually guarantee our rights under the Constitution and which protects our rights under the Constitution and stops the government from derogating on or taking advantage of our rights under the Constitution, even though sometimes they go ahead and do it anyhow, regardless, because they act like a bunch of scofflaws. I'll repeat again what I just read, just for emphasis, and then continue on. The Supreme Court of Belize, Justice Patricia Farnese, judicial review per section 20 under the authority of the Belize Constitution and stipulating the following doctrines: the Supremacy Clause doctrine, and the Separation of Powers doctrine, and the Basic Structure doctrine, and the Preamble Fundamental Rights doctrine, and the Established Jurisprudence Case Laws, Stare Decisis doctrine, etc. I have been saying for a while now that the Belizean Constitution is being bastardized by the Belize legislature and Belize government cabinet ministers with unconstitutional and ultra-virus acts and overreaching statutory instruments and department procedures, regulations, and policies that are contrary and inconsistent with the Belize Constitution and lawful conduct of governance powers being exercised. I went on to say, in the High Court of Belize, AD 2023, claims number 215, which was lodged a year earlier in 2022 between the Sugar Industries Limited, BSIL, and Russell Navarro, and against Attorney General of Belize, representing the country of Belize. Justice Patricia Farnese ruled saying that Section 10 of the Sugar Act was unlawful and unjustifiable and in breach of Section 3, small d, and Section 17 of the Constitution, and is null and void. As I had stipulated on many occasions before, with other such crazy laws that our government go ahead and enact, pretending like they don't have people who are lawyers amongst them and who can give them advice, or with the purse of the public, they can solicit private advice. Therefore, they should not have to find themselves making these egregious laws, these contemptuous laws, and these laws that we keep complaining to them about. After they go ahead and make it, they shouldn't have to make it in the first place. I'll turn it over to my cousin. I'll yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Leonard. Go ahead, Greg. Continue on the.
I thank you, my cousin, but it won't be the first time we have run through this beautiful constitution of ours. But you know what I find? Like I said before, there's nothing wrong with it. And through Section 20, this learned judge just proved to Belizeans at home and abroad that the Constitution is alive and living well.
Mhm.
So
Amen.
why change it? Why change it when it's working? No,
Wow.
with that being said, I would like to say that we have spoke about government wanting to take over properties, government wants to take over personal belongings of other individual, private entity. And now, here we go. And then again, they want to make these policy and rules that is in violation of the Constitution. I've said it on more than one occasion. Statutory instrument and policies does not trump the Constitution.
Mhm.
And here we find them in a predicament. Because if you recall, the Minister of Agriculture wanted to be the big dog and that. He wanted to run the sugar industry. And now here we are. They wanted to squeeze out the small men. You heard the ruling. It's inconsistent with the Constitution, which gives the rights of every individual to work in whatever choices he wants to do it. And it's very important because this brings us to what I said just before this ruling with Serrano service. We will have another lawsuit and they will lose again because you cannot stop nobody from working. Talking about he have seven implications. Man, you're supposed to have a transit board, and that transit board should have a department, like the Department of Traffic, who issues citation, and you are being charged if you violate them. Nowhere in the world you hear because you are in violation of citation, they take away your permit. It's unconstitutional to do that. The Constitution gives you the right to work. So, as I said before, our Constitution is alive and living well. Why change what is working? Back to you, Mr. Chairman.
Well, guys, we have been beating you guys. We have been beating this horse for some time now, and these people have no intention of changing the way they do business, right?
Bunch of
Past and
scofflaws.
present. Yes.
A bunch of scofflaws.
Oh, great. and Leonard, right?
Yes, sir.
Now, where is humanity? Do they want to alleviate poverty? Do they want to better off the lives of Belizean, regular Belizean, not their cronies and so-called friends, because they are living well on the backs of the taxpayers and eating steak every day. But here you have that scenario playing out in the north. And you would say that the government would want to protect the employment of the poor farmers, the poor people. And when you have a prime minister of this country who is from the north and is a keen farmer, what is this guy thinking? Huh? And yet they say, guys, that everybody for winning for the government, this People's United Party administration, everybody. Are they confused with that word, everybody? How they are not fighting for the rights of the workers? And why do they have to belong to an association to be able to do business? Elaborate on that a little bit there, Leonard. Because, this is very crucial to the people up north, man. It is wrong to come and tell me, well, I have to join that group, if you want to do business in the name of cane farming, right? Or deliver your cane. Suppose I don't want to. I'm just saying, how can they be manhandling these people like that, man?
Mr. Wade, when you have executive interference, you know what you call union busting? When you have executive interference, that is what you will get. You break up all these little associations and compel them to command a certain association.
Mhm.
That is using executive powers. And it's not only in the north. You saw what the government did to the stevedores when he was willing to use the armed forces to unload the ship. Executive powers. Now, let me hear you, my cousin.
And Leonard, let me just throw this in
Okay.
for you there, Leonard.
Go ahead.
Not to mention, Leonard, that we had a paid by the taxpayer negotiator, an ex-minister, a retiree, that's supposed to have had everything, and he's also a cane farmer, right? And he was the best negotiator for the business. What happened to that?
Mr. Wade, this is what is happening, right? And you will not see a change unless there is separation of powers. The government did not want to stand behind the stevedores who rightfully threw a tribunal. They could have forced it by law, which was legal under the Constitution. Instead, they wanted to go up against a private entity, and they want to make their own policies, as they are trying to do right now with this definitive agreement. But when we get to that, I will open your eyes so everyone can see what is happening. Now let me hear from you, my cousin.
Go ahead, Leonard.
Thank you very much.
Compound on what we're talking about here, my brother.
The problem really starts from way back. Way back. That is that there were laws in place for the cane farmers them to justifiably get adequate compensation for their product. But under the PUP government and under different UDP government as well, changes were being made for political help to political affiliated groups. And as a result, each group under different government tried to flex their muscle. And then the government lent its governance powers and went ahead and write SI statutory instruments to facilitate certain actions. As a result, those statutory instruments are now facing legal challenge and are now being found wanting when they have been on the book for a while. And like I keep saying over and over and over, we have a lot of these same types of statutory instruments and a lot of these same kinds of rules and regulations and other laws, as the Constitution would classify them to be, that are inconsistent with the Constitution, which is why I read what I read earlier in the beginning of this tonight's show. And I'm hoping that before the show is finished, I'll be able to read some additional things in support of the very same things that I read just now. We're trying to read things out of the Constitution and out of the settled laws in the country to hopefully educate the public about what is wrong and to hopefully embarrass our leaders who should know better and should be capable of doing better and who are holding on to the governance power and refusing to do better, embarrass them into letting them realize that there are people out here who knows what they're not doing right and that who are demanding that they do right. They will only do right when they are forced to do right. In this case, even when the judge rules, they're not following through on the judge's orders or rulings and still continue to expose our country and our treasury to additional lawsuits as a result. Because now with this ruling that BSI had in its favor, they can turn around now and stiff the cane farmers then even more. And as my cousin said a little earlier, they're not doing what they were supposed to do, especially in the case where they had an order for the stevedores, them, for example, that a tribunal had already ruled. Any court would have recognized the tribunal's ruling as being viable and therefore would have supported them, the government, to go and force the offending party that refused to abide by the tribunal's order and could have put the powers of the government behind that order and forced the non-compliant entity to comply. But no, they want to take it upon themselves because they are given the powers to make laws that they should go ahead and do what I've been saying over and over that they should not do, even if you have 100% of the legislators from both parties join up together to make unconstitutional laws. When they are challenged in court under judicial review, they will be found to be null and void, as in this case, where this judge just made this ruling. So what they did is they went ahead and used the power of statutory instruments and the so-called influence, which is basically influence peddling, as far as I'm concerned, of past senior PUP members to negotiate on behalf of the cane farmers then and to try and resolve this issue with BSI. BSI is not in the business to facilitate the cane farmers getting any more money from BSI than BSI cares to give up. Even when they are being sued, they're refusing to give it up, when in fact the cane farmers do deserve to get better payment for their product. because BSI is claiming that they have so much overhead expenses to the point where a lot of the money is being used, because when the cane farmers produce the cane and send it to BSI to get grinded up and turned into sugar, and BSI send this sugar abroad, go sell, and then get the payment for it, BSI is supposed to share that money that they get with the cane farmers. But under the way how the agreement was established, BSI first get to take out of the money that they get paid anything that they consider to be money that relates to them having invested in the company to take out profit and to take out money that is costing them for running the factory during the time that the factory is grinding the cane, and even afterwards for maintenance of the factory when the factory is not grinding cane and is done. And they're always taking more than they're supposed to take, so that by the time they finish take out those portions based on the agreement, there's very little left to be shared among the cane farmers. And then out of what's left to be shared among the cane farmers, they still get to take a big share of that as profit for their overseas investors, who must be satisfied and must be given a big amount, regardless of how low the amount of money they get for the cane. Their investors come first before the cane farmers, them who actually produce the cane. And on that basis, or on that point, the government should be standing behind the cane farmers and fighting on behalf of the cane farmers them and stop playing games. Because they basically were trying to play games and power play the BSI, and they found themselves wanting, because they thought they had the power of law behind them and the power of legislation to make laws that were inconsistent with the Constitution, as the learned judge pointed out, and therefore ruled in favor of BSI and classified the government's effort as being null and void. That shouldn't have to be. The man, they have enough lawyers among them that know better. And I keep repeating this thing over and over and over, asking them to stop do craziness, because we, the people, suffer afterwards. Which one of the ministers then want to take out money out of their pocket and pay for the legal services for this case where we just lose? Much less pay for any damages that these people could claim on us. Or to be able to help the cane farmers them or leave it better. Is the government going to go and ask me a Congress for the extra money to give the cane farmers them, because the amount of money when they get from BSI may not help them survive till the next cane season, and for them to pay their bills, and for them to pay for them trucking, for them cleaning on the cane, for them replanting on the cane fields, and maintaining the cane field until the next season. And every time when they deliver their product, they don't get paid right there when they deliver their product, and they still have to wait till BSI get the money and haggle with BSI to figure out how much they want to get out of it. Then they get chance right, left, and center, because the government is not doing its job appropriately. They are empowered to make laws, but the laws that they are making is inconsistent. And when we tell them that, then brush way off. They don't want to hear what we got to say. Then prefer to go to court and lose the case there, because they're not in their pocket to feel, instead of them do the right thing in the beginning. That's why when you hear me always calling a bunch of knuckleheads, a bunch of scarflaws, a bunch of hyenas, vultures, and vampires, and all kind of other names, because that's how they are behaving. They're not acting like they really have sovereign power to do the right thing and get things done right. They're acting like scarflaw, and therefore they go and they commit errors in judgment and expose the country to further costs for money where we really don't got. All that the learned judge did was to point out to them what we have been saying in this particular case. But it goes not only for this case, it goes for many other cases. Because once you have established laws and you have a constitution, you should be able to know what would be right and what would be wrong, and don't do the wrong thing and do the right thing, so you don't have to be scolded by the judge, or you don't have to look stupid, or you don't have to make the people take advantage of by these corporations. Because the corporations, they will always have a bigger pocket than the average person when they deal with, and could always suborn the small people them and take chance off of them. And then the government is very few occasions that I have known of in Belize where the government step in when the private individuals have a problem with this corporation and the government step in and help out. Very, very few instances. And if these corporations were to know that our government is serious, that they will not tolerate any other corporation coming in and taking advantage of our people, they will act properly. They will act like decent, law-abiding corporate citizens and do the right thing on behalf of we people. But then prefer to take one money on the side from this corporation and suborn for which countries' authority and governance power to these corporations. And then they go and sign deals with them behind the scene that enable these corporations to, when they come to the court to fight, they have all these subordinated principles that allow them to prevail in court. This judge made reference to the preamble and some of the items in the preamble. And we, on this show, my cousin, Mr. Wade, and myself, have been saying from the beginning of this particular program, our government need to stop act as scofflaws, abide by the Constitution, and if they don't like it, follow the right way or the right rules to get change. But they can't go to the house to make bogus rules. And because they make the rules, that means that the rules have to be upheld. They're doing us a disservice. They cannot be taking away the rights that are vested in the preamble. That the people have, for example, all powers vested in them, that the government cannot take those powers away except under emergency. But they want to take your powers away even when there's no real emergency. And if they have to fabricate an emergency, they'll go ahead and do that too. And they keep doing the same craziness over and over again. I don't know when it's going to stop. But I'm not going to stop complaining and pointing out the errors of their way. That's the least I could do. You know, cost me a feather off of my back if I were to be a bird, to follow that process and continue persisting in trying to point out to them the errors of their way and try to provide or instigate that they listen to some advice. They don't have to listen to me. As I said, among themselves, there is not smart people there. Politically wise, smart, legally wise, smart, and smart in all different kind of way. Economically wise, smart in many ways. So all they have to do that when they sit down in your cabinet, allow themselves to be bamboozled by the prime minister, and get up and speak to the issues that are within their portfolio, and guide the cabinet in its proper guidance to end up with a result that is beneficial to the people whom they are accountable. But they think they are accountable to themselves and among themselves, and to hell with the rest of the people. And now we have the prime minister going on a trip to do what I exactly told you guys he was going to be doing. And when he come back, he not tell nobody where he come back he can do. But we knew already where he went. We knew who he was talking to, and we know what he was discussing. And when he come back, we know where he come back to come do. So I was able to tell you on the last show that he went and had meeting with the people from the shipping company to promise them that he will step in the breach to facilitate them being able to at least move this thing forward if they are willing to continue with the process. He won't take weak powers and subordinate weak powers to these people. I don't know if they really depend already, but I damn well know based on where I know that he is in, as I told you guys before, and the public before, as an interested party in this process, which is why he's willing to suborn the whole country's governance power to that particular undertaking. Even if Ashcroft sues us or Feinstein sues us. That the government want pay, I don't know who want pay. So now you come with the damn craziness, but he want to help these people get another shot at this thing, and that he want to negotiate one better outcome. We don't want you to negotiate nothing in cabinet, sir. We don't trust you. We have 24 plus issues, any of which you should have been in jail for, or at least being dispossessed of the powers of governance, so that you don't betray us anymore. You're hell-bent in betraying us some more. We don't want you negotiating on our behalf and have no secrecy discussion in cabinet and try to convince your other cabinet colleagues then to go along with you. Because they, as of right now, should have known how damn treacherous it was, to the point that you never tell them all of what was going on. You hide the legal documents there from them, and you try to bamboozle them into going along with putting the country over a barrel. We do not trust you, Mr. Prime Minister. I asked you before, or advised you as well before, give your party a fair shot at resurrecting themselves out of the ashes that you have created. But it seems as if power has gotten to your head to such a point where you're unwilling or unable to demit office in the interest of the country and well-being of the country. You're not even willing to do it in the interest of your own party. But I can promise you that if you continue this shenanigan, as I told you before, it's not going to end well. Take it back, Mr. Wade.
Yes, thank you, Leonard. Right, guys. While we want to finish up with this sugar industry and with the problems up north, and with the small guys, I don't know if you guys had remember Black Wednesday, the 70s, right? Greg, you remember Black Wednesday? That hell of a loo that happened. I was part of the security forces in that time, right? Similar situation. And because the poor small farmers, start to retaliate, they get bamboozled, right? And you say from then to now, things would have been better for these people. But here we are again, back to square one, right? And in my view, and I'll say this, that, who will end up suffering, right? Don't you think that it's high noon? Like you said, Leonard, there are laws, the Sugar Act, right? There are laws, right? That, to let things run smoothly. But are they following the laws? For me, I think it's all about greed, right? And the greed is for the big fish to make more money on the backs of the small little farmers, right? So I say this, guys, for me, I am seeing a repeat of Black Wednesday that happened in the 70s. It's coming. It's coming. Because people are getting tired, right? That's all I have to say on that. To the powers to be, the leaders. That's all I got to say on that.
Greg, would you be willing? Would you be kind enough to concede to me a couple of minutes? Not more than a couple.
Go ahead, sir.
Mr. Wade.
Go ahead, sir.
Go ahead, Leonard. Go ahead, Leonard.
Thank you. I'm going to say something here to the general public, because I know for a certainty there's a lot of Belizeans that really don't understand anything about the cane industry. Okay? And therefore, they're not as sympathetic as they should be with these people and their undertakings. But hopefully, I will elucidate quickly, because I only asked for a couple of minutes, part of the situation that's going on up north. The reason why they put together a situation where you have to have 75 tons of cane, otherwise you can't deliver, is because there are some big wigs up there who buy the cane off the field from the small cane farmers who are not productive enough to have 75 tons. They pay them less than what their product is really worth, but the people they have to take what they could get, because otherwise the cane will just get wasted in the field. So they get taken advantage at that level, and the bigger boys then end up to make one bigger delivery than what they would probably be able to deliver on their own. Of course, they have some of the bigger farmers who have the bigger amount of cane to deliver. But no care how much they deliver, they want to deliver more. They want to be in a position where they could count on having a bigger part of the pie. Just greed, basically. Another story. Just greed. So what happened is that a lot of these people are suffering in a lot of different ways. Cane farming is not an easy job, I could tell you. I was chief of farm, Capatas de Finca in Honduras, for 2 years in a 20,000 acre cane farm and other products. I used to chop with 2 hands, and the reason why I became chief of the farm is because of my level of competence in swinging 2 machetes at the same time when I used to go through the cane field. Then decided to make me boss of the whole cane operation. So I'm not talking off the top of my head because I'm ignorant, I don't know what to say, and I just want to say something to make it sound like, well, I'm so intelligent. I'm not just intelligent, I'm knowledgeable with physical life experience about what I'm conveying tonight. A lot of people in Corozal and Orangewa, that's why I have so many different cane farmers association. And if it was left to the people, they would probably have a lot more. The problem is that when they make agreement with the cane industry, with the BSI, then BSI prefer to just talk to one small group of powerful people. And whatever they come up with and agree to, BSI don't have to worry about the rest of these small people will get trampled upon. But the bottom line for the 2 minutes I'm going to ask for just now is that Belizeans need to be more sympathetic towards what's going on up north, just as for the people in up north need to be sympathetic to what's going on in Belize and down south in Sand Creek in the banana area, as well as the citrus area and the cacao area, or the Mayans them and other people, and the fishery industry, all the different industries in the country. People need to start sympathize and empathize with each other, support and look after and look out for each other, and let's run this country as a country that is the patrimony of all of us. Otherwise, if we get divided and conquered, we are being in the same position that we have been in for the last 50 plus years. It's not that people don't know what's going on. The cane farmers, they know what happened to them, but a lot of other people around the country don't know where they go on. And that's the reason why I asked for them 2 minutes just now.
Thank you. Go ahead, Greg.
You know, I'm sitting here peacefully listening to you guys and my cousin. But there's a bigger picture than that. And I will show you the big picture. The first thing I would like to say, on more than one platform, we spoke about the Constitution, the rights, the fundamental rights that we have.
Mm-hmm.
I can go way back to Dr. Marvin Manzanero. And I said he should have taken his case to court. I can call other people names, rightfully so. But there's a bigger picture than that is happening. The cattle industry. You have one set of people that buy from everybody and ship to Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
Amen to that.
The citrus industry has gone. Call the name that used to run it there, Dr. Cantone. Now they have their own industry in Silkgrass. Doing what? Making all the juices, doing everything. Now we are going to have a vegetable industry coming up shortly, shipping to El Salvador. They will do the same thing. Buy everything from the local farmers, and guess who is making the money? It will
Middleman?
not change because these people are making scarf laws using SI. They do not want to do the right thing. That is
They
why
need
I
to
said
stop it.
many times before about the formal way and the informal way when you're dealing with the Constitution. You know? And it goes deeper than that because you see what the government has done when they thought about constitution reform and when and brought that into law. They are mandating themselves to say, we must get this done. Like the people asked them to do that.
That was an
But
illegal move.
what is ludicrous about it? You know what is ludicrous about it? We have third parties at home and abroad in town halls trying to educate the Belizean people. Now, when I look at Mr. Osha, and he is out there teaching about the Constitution when it comes to fundamental right, you should know your rights. Man, I can't believe it. Honestly, I cannot believe it how ludicrous these people are. You are teaching something about fundamental right in the Belizean Constitution when you know you should be the first to know that if the Constitution is changed, those rights will not be in it. So why teach about it? Why teach about it? You want to teach the people about fundamental rights, and you know the intention of the government is to turn the country into a republic. So what good is that if those rights will be gone? It
Because
makes no sense to me. Yes.
he's teaching about the Constitution and the rights under the preamble, but he's not teaching it correctly. He's misleading, misguiding, and undermining the very premise on which the preamble stands. That is to say, his emphasis to the people that he's teaching is to say that yes, you have these rights, but they're not guaranteed because the government could abrogate them, take them away. But he's not willing to say that the government also, under the same criteria, should be able to take away then by declaring an SOE, right? Take away the rights of the Unibam people. Then no, he says no, that's not true. You know, Unibam right that was found within the same preamble under the same categories that all of our other rights are listed is fixed, unalterably, and untouchable. When in fact, that very preamble had said before that for morality purposes, the government can restrict certain rights. What were the morality purposes that the Constitution was talking about then in its preamble? The very same thing for which they found the rights of Mr. Orozco, Caleb Orozco, and Unibam. But they found those rights for themselves, but they want to restrict us from being able to have the additional rights that are listed in the same preamble that empowers us to have our rights not be trampled with, just like how they don't want their rights trampled with. This is the way they man to teach as part of your constitutional teaching. How the government have powers to abrogate your rights. Instead, I teach the people the fundamental rights and explain to them that only under certain particular conditions does the government have the opportunity to suppress them on a temporary basis because they belong to you. After that suppressed period pass, those rights revert to you. The government now have to come and give it back to you because they're fundamental, unalienable rights. His emphasis is in how successful they were with the Unibam case. And he is arguing with the people that are telling him or pointing out to him that the same constitution, the same preamble, and the same rights under which they found consensus to give the right to violate the constitution, as a matter of fact, or to violate what the preamble stipulated then when it talks about morality, they were allowed and allow themselves to be pressured by the United States State Department during the Miss Clinton term as
Foreign
head
Secretary.
of State, Secretary of State, to put pressure on Belize to change its laws and to acknowledge the existence of something that the Constitution spoke about, morality, and the kind of morality that we society used to subscribe to. Now the government, under those kind of duress and pressures from external forces, and with all kind of legal support and money to help them sponsor and get top-notch lawyers to advocate on their behalf, their rights they were able to find rights for them and have their rights vindicated to the point now where the very same Mr. Osher is declaring that there's only two rights that are fundamental. And my presumption is that he's stipulating that one of them is the Unibam case, because that was ruled by the learned judge, Judge Conte, Supreme Court Justice Conte. Theirs was firm and should not be violated, but ours have not been found and can and should be violated. We don't need anybody to be educating for you people then kind of way there. Teach the people in the facts of the situation. Teach them the real fundamental rights. That is fundamental and should not be abridged or abrogated. Explain to them. And also explain to them under what condition the government narrowly under specific condition, and has to be an emergency, not a bogus declared emergency, a real emergency.
And you know what?
And not take it just from one person or two person. When those rights it is global, it covers everybody.
Exactly.
Go ahead, because
exactly.
Go ahead, Greg. Continue.
Either under Section 18, which is not telling them, and under Section 9. But you know what? He'll be on my turf this coming Saturday.
But they're not giving him.
And you know what? we will bump head.
You don't get that chance.
Yeah, we will bump head. We will bump head because he cannot teach me about that. I'm too educated for that. Inside out. So let me hear him answer me. You know, because as I was saying, why teach it when you know you're doing this in assistance to a government who intend to tear it apart and come with something new? So you will come back and teach the people a new rights or fundamental rights? Come on. It makes no sense. Now, this is the part that gets good now. I listened to you guys earlier, and we talk about the Prime Minister coming back. And you guys are saying that on Friday, they're going to go to the cabinet and they're going to try to pass some laws or whatever they will do.
New legislation, Greg. A new legislation.
I want to remind you guys this. The word is prejudicism. You heard what I said?
Yeah.
If the government intend to pass new legislation in regards to Port Magic, it means that it was bluff poker when the Prime Minister said he tore up that definitive agreement. It is not possible because if you were coming with something new for them, they had to start all over. They had to go all the way through environmental clearance. They had to go step one to everything anew. But I don't believe that. If you recall, I said, if they intend to plagiarize on the agreement, then you cannot take the person who signed it to court because you are using of it to make it becomes legal. That is also unconstitutional because if you remember, the way the definitive agreement was set up was in violation of the Constitution. So now if they intend to enact some laws or whatever they want to do, it couldn't come that quick. It means they are not fully going over it and coming with something new. It has to be, he called a bluff poker, tore some papers up, and now he has the same old horse that he said that was dead. Is right there in the back, breathing and living well. Let me hear your take on that.
Yeah, you couldn't have said it better, my brother. You know, call it a bluff poker, right? Man playing a poker game
That
and
is
bluffing.
correct.
Okay, now we beat this horse already in so many ways. We call it. You start mentioning that touring up of that definitive agreement. That oh yeah, that was just a show, right? That was just a show, right? For whoever bite that, right? But anyway, again, guys, the man says that people were consulted, right? Now, who believed that? Who believed that? Environmental clearance. Who believed that? When he controls the environmental officers, he put them in that seat. The head of the environmental department, he put them. He hired him, right? So you think that he will bite the hand that fed him or is feeding him? And like Leonard said, you know, his interest is nothing else but greed. His interest is nothing else but we'll see that project go through because he stand to gain. He and his boys, right?
As Mr. Ashcroft
If
said.
that project does not go through, and you know what? That project, I would like to see the amount of money that these participants had put up. So-called partakers in that project, so-called owners, so-called who have shares, so-called, you know, don't forget how they got the port. Don't forget. Did Mr. Lucas put up any money?
No.
There is.
Tell me, guys, how much money did Lucas put up today?
There is.
All right.
You familiar with the word there is?
Mr. Chairman and Greg, give me a second. That point came up. Let me address it quickly. Mr. Luke Espat was just a holdover person, holding over that asset that belonged to the government so that they can use it to fleece it for themselves. He never actually bought the port. He never put down no money for the port. He never paid for it. But he
And
went
who was the party in power?
that's the same time when they were dispossessing our government of all the government or public assets. The port, the airport, the government printers, everything.
Forest
Land,
Drive,
all the equipment, what do you call it? Public
the
works.
forestry department, that compound there. The man Julius his spot bought that for a measly penny. Measly penny. Belongs to the people, did not belongs to Musa.
But
Did not.
but
Nor the
again,
People's United Party.
but again, Mr. Wade,
Go ahead,
I will
Greg.
say this again so my cousin can hear. If these guys are going to the cabinet Friday to table whatever, it means that the prime minister called a bluff poker when he tore those papers up in the house. And I'm going to say it again. That means the dead horse that he was talking about is being plagiarized.
He got flagged into life.
Because if you were coming with something new and they wouldn't get more or less, you would have started brand new and they had to go all the way back into environmental clearance and everything. You could not be looking in such a short time to want to table things. It's impossible. And you know what I'm saying, my cousin. Go ahead, my cousin.
The meeting that our Prime Minister, thank you very much, Chairman. Thank you, Greg. The meeting that our Prime Minister, well, not meeting because he had more than one meeting, he had a lot of meetings. But one of the meetings that our Prime Minister was involved with had to do with the facilitation of bringing about this sport and how to suborn all government powers that is vested in him right now as the Prime Minister of the country and leading his cabinet, among whom he now probably feels comfortable enough to have suborned enough of them to be able to have his way and his say and his way with cabinet in order to bring out of cabinet whatever is it that he wants to bring to the House for the House to vote on. The dead horse that he said that didn't have any more life because he indicated by tearing it up, and everybody's saying that it's a dead horse, was dead to the public, but not in their mind. They were double talking when they were talking crap about the agreement being a dead horse. All that while they were breathing life into the dead horse to try and resurrect her, to see to it that they could compete and finish the race that they start run. As of today's date, the Prime Minister has not told anybody what I'm telling you right now on this show when he came back from his last trip. I keep telling him, I keep telling other people besides him what they discuss in cabinet, what they discuss when they go abroad with these other people and the people that they meet, that they don't think that because Belizean people are sitting at home should know who they go meet, where they go, then just say, well, then they left the country and somebody else can take over in their absence. They're not getting no report when they come back. But from now on into the rest of the future, I will be giving reports to the public. And you, the public, will be able to validate that report on your own when you start to see the bits and pieces come in place and you understand and realize that what was said to you and told to you was like that. I'm not the only person that is privy to this information. I keep telling them over and over. Everything that's discussed in cabinet is known by a lot of foreign governments. We people not supposed to know what the foreign governments they know. We people not supposed to know what they're discussing the cabinet, because like they always say, cabinet is a consensus, which is what comes out of cabinet is agreeable by a majority. But what's discussed in cabinet, according to them, is secret. To them, it's secret. I shouldn't even say secret to them, because it's not secret to them. They know what the hell they discuss. It's secret to the public. But it is not a secret to the people that know. And where they monitor everything that goes on in cabinet, as I keep on trying to tell them. What they need to do, in a simple way, I'll explain. Find another place to conduct the damn cabinet meetings then. Because everything discussed in cabinet is being recorded. How much of that they really don't want to believe baffles me. Because I refuse to believe that these people don't understand that intelligence gathering in the wider world is a sophisticated science that Bakatong countries not have the full capacity and capability of. But that must stop it from happening or going on. And when I had to tell them what they happen, and I had to tell them what they do, and ask them to change their ideas on their behavior or whatever, and they still go ahead and do it, like they say, well, they have proved to me that they could do what they want to do, regardless of the fact that I busted them both out and expose them and stuff. They will still just go ahead and do it anyway, because they're not to be embarrassed, or they're not consider being exposed as being embarrassed. I pleaded to the man for Kirby that quote the other day. He refused. Why? In a few days' time, the information that he knew was available came to the general public's purview. So then that information would have been available for us to discuss in public had we been in court. I can't do like what they do here in America when the government decide that certain information they don't want to have it be public, therefore they want to discuss it behind closed door. I can't tell no judge that what's coming out and exposing him in terms of the Jerusalem recommendations and the subordination of the people at the different government departments to get the man. Okay. To get the permission for them to go ahead and do the import, basically. A lot of different government departments are involved with that process, and a lot of them, they get subordinated. Some of them are just physically being threatened with their livelihood and in jobs, which shouldn't be happening in the first place. But some people are so committed to the well-being of the country that they're willing to take the heat and they're willing to suffer consequences, including members of cabinet, as we have seen before. So what I'm talking is not news, or what I'm saying is not news. There are people in cabinet who realize that they were being taken for fool and continue to be taken for fool. I wish that those people would just hold on to their own personal fortitude and would not be swayed with taking another stab at this thing, because at the end of the day, the weak country and they're in trouble. They as politicians should move on, but for decades, we not get no money out of them projects. Money now and they go for treasury and for your population and keep suffering. But I don't want to belabor the point.
But you know what, cuz, let me say this. You know what is unbelievable? Because even when they're saying that the bluff poker with the tearing up and that was dead, how come there's still dredging going on then?
Which shouldn't
because
be happening.
Work had never stopped.
Shouldn't be happening.
Work had never stopped. You heard what I said?
I know.
Work had never stopped out there. So I don't know how dead it was. At the end of the day, what we would like to know, how come these guys were dredging and doing all that before they get clearance and all the other things they're supposed to have? It is as if they knew that it was a green light. Everything was just going to pass and go through. Because to me, that's what it seems is happening. Because as I said earlier,
Sorry.
you are not coming with a new agreement. You are plagiarizing of the old agreement. Because for one, you are coming with it too quick. So you couldn't have done it over. Period. And if that is what you are doing, Mr. What's the name of the guy that signed it? What's the name of the guy that signed it?
Contreras.
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 Mr. Contreras? He
Yeah,
has
yeah.
nothing to answer to in a court of law because you cannot take from what you said was null and void and then use from it and bring it into law. Simple. That is how the system works in law.
The bigger picture, Greg.
You would have to come with a new foundation.
That's technically correct. But the bigger picture is that we have people who control our governance powers and who are subordinating those governance powers. Come hell or high water, regardless of what consequences we the people have to suffer.
Greg
That's the
and
problem.
Leonard,
Yes,
Mhm.
we must fail to realize, right, that, well, although we know, right, that these players, you said they are still dredging and work is still going on before everything is approved. They are big people. They are big people that have their connections. If it's not a minister or the prime minister or there is some big person there that has and know what he's doing, that he is not against, he not up against no kind of problem. Everything is the green light for him because then, like you said, Friday coming, the green light will come to flourishing, right? The green light will come to pass, right? And again, who will lose? The taxpayers, the country, because they will not get their dust too.
Great.
Mr. Wade, not to cut you short, but I want you and the people at home and abroad listen to exactly what I will say right now. The ruling of this judge with this sugarcane industry has given the green light for the other two tourist place, the one at State Bank and Waterloo at Ashcroft, to go ahead and sue the government because you cannot stop these people from earning their money. Remember what the Constitution says? From any form of job that you want to do, as long as you pay your fair share of taxes. So that's a precedent right there, and it's a green light to State Bank and Waterloo. So I want you guys be very clear on it.
So what I was saying all the way along didn't make sense then, right? Until today. Not today, but until now, when the judge ruled on this case that you're making a reference to, Greg, and that I read about earlier in the beginning of the program. All of what I was saying before, in the eyes and the minds of those people who were listening and hearing and paying attention, was not making no sense. I wonder if they have a second take now and reassess the conclusions based on what I was saying before. Because I told you so. I get happy nowadays when after
But
this I told you so situation. Because the truth is the truth and it cannot be denied. But I wanted to go back to another point earlier, which is why I was going to ask you just now to give me a shot. No?
but listen to me before you go
Okay,
there.
go ahead.
And I will prove it on the legal side to the people at home and abroad. If you look at the ruling that this judge made on that case, you know what the catchphrase? No other cruise port within 25 miles is unconstitutional. You cannot do that.
That was the detonator.
You cannot do that, and the Prime Minister know that. You cannot favor Port Magic and make legislation to say that, okay, we will not have no other cruise port within 25 miles ranges. It's unconstitutional and it will be null and void. Period.
He does not care. They physically want to get that stuff rushed through as quick as possible and moving forward so that they can overtake State Bank and stop Ashcroft from doing his stuff so that they can actually run the show. That's what it's all about. It's not about
but we know
over any laws or rules or whatever. It's about slapping.
You have to look at it. It's right there. The ruling within itself is saying you cannot stop nobody from doing their honest job, trade, whatever. When you are saying these corporations, this other entity will not be able to finish their cruise terminal in which they had put more money than this new one.
Mm-hmm.
State Bank is nearly finished.
Mm-hmm.
Waterloo is already a port. That is really crazy.
Very crazy.
And it's not even me. It's not even me. I'm trying it out to the people at home and abroad.
Mm-hmm.
There's somebody who are more legal than me in Gerard Storage. Because he's telling them that they are opening a can of worms to be sued by who? State Bank and Waterloo.
Well, guys, to sum it all up, these guys have been violating the Constitution for some time now. For some time. So, as for me, I just hope and pray, after all these lawsuits go through, that they will finally know that they need to stop it. But until then, they will keep the grinding, right? Because, like I say, they are not held to test. They are not held to test in a court of law. Yet, as to this magnitude that's going to happen, that Leonard had pointed out, and Gregory, all these lawsuits that is going to come, right? For violating the Constitution, right? Which they have been doing for many years and get away with it. Although, guys, the court in the past had ruled some laws should be null and void. Do they adhere to that? No. They still use it like it's legal. When the court already says it's null and void, you should be struck off. Do they struck it off? No. They constantly violate. So,
Mr. Chairman, we're almost at the end of our time, within another 5 minutes. But I would like to ask that we consider extending another 5 to 10 minutes, because I needed at least about 5 minutes to read something here. Remember, I said I was going to wait until.
Okay, all right. Go ahead and read that as you're closing, right?
No, go ahead.
Finish
up, Mr. Chairman.
I didn't want to cut you off.
Finish your point, Mr. Chairman.
My point is that these guys are violators. And here you are, they come and want to educate the public about their rights, their constitutional rights. These guys are a bunch of anyway, right? But they keep doing the same thing over and over. So I hope and pray that they get it in their skull, right? That what they have been doing is so not right. And they need to be held accountable. They need to be held accountable to the fullest after all these lawsuit has played out. Then I think they will get the sense of it. Talking about past and present government that had violated UDP and PUP, that had violated the rights and violated the constitution of this land, law of this land, and get away with it. Keep doing it.
Mr. Chairman?
Go ahead, no, go ahead, Leonard. Then.
Sir, about the issue of accountability, they don't want to put UNCAC in place. But as of last week, I've been trying to spread the news. Many of these gentlemen, and especially the Prime Minister himself, as an individual, may yet find himself at the Hague. Somehow or another, down on them, what is it that I'm trying to spell to them?
Yeah.
To explain to them.
You're hard-headed, Leonard.
But they have liars among them and other people who historically knows what the facts are that causes people to end up at the Hague. And
they themselves at one point
whether they know,
in the near future will end up in jail.
You know what? You know,
I read the thing now. I just to try preface.
Yes, Gregory, quick, Gregory, then let Leonard finish.
Yeah,
go ahead,
you
go
know
ahead,
what
Gregory.
too? You know what too, cousin Mr. Wade? Chester and Minister said beware about freedom of association. Beware, because these young men have the right under Section 20 now to sue you for illegal detainment.
Right.
There's no such law as being a member of a gang. That's unconstitutional. Go ahead, Cuz.
Go ahead, Leonard.
Under the stipulation of being a member of a gang, the large people could be considered to be a gang as well, because they're an association. Secret association at that. The police department, with all them tattoos on their body, and sometimes the flash gang sign, and sometimes you'll hang out with gang members, family members who are gangs, or who are part of the gang group themselves. Because you can't choose who your family gonna be. So a lot of them got family where they're in a gangs, and so then that's why some of that information disappear out of the police department. Because the right people in the right position get rid of the right documents, so that there's no prosecution in certain cases. These things are not accidental. And the way they behave and break the law could be considered as a gang. And because they broke the law, should suffer the penalty of breaking the law. That police officer who may slap that young man the other day, he can be charged for assault. That young man could sue him, but you see, they think that the average individual don't have the money if you go try to take out no suit. So, for all intents and purposes, they didn't get away with behaving like that. Then commander and then boss, no reprimand them, or send them or get tried, or have them tried under the state for the violation that they commit against unarmed civilian at that. But I want to read this thing. Time to go. And,
go ahead, Leonard.
I really don't want to abuse the public because, they appreciate the fact that they listen to the thing, and sometimes, they listen to it at different times, no? And then if we make it too long, then that kind of, they have to cut it off or do what they have to do and move on, and then they'll not get the rest of the program. So I can just quickly read this thing here. It's kind of long. And that's why I'm asked for about 5 minutes just now, no? But let me try and do it as quick as possible. Normally, when I read, I try to read slow so people will get where to try to say and think about where to say and understand where to try to say. But this one, I have to just read it through just to get it over with. Okay? I'll keep posting them anyhow. So, the following commentary was made by Leonard Brackett as foresight. Previews of coming attractions to Belize governance powers exercise. The Constitution of Belize Bastardization and Challenging Pandora's Box is the title. The Constitution of Belize Bastardization, Challenging Pandora's Box. I went on to say, Belize at 40th year of independence, getting rid of anything British, parliamentary vestiges, and British head of state, ascensions to exercise Belize's power is what the whole of this exercise in futility about the PCC and the PRC is all about. Prime Minister Mr. John Briceño with dream is the Constitution of Belize revamping and to do violence and ultra-virus existing Constitution of Belize, amounting to seditious agenda, abrogation of sworn oath to uphold the Constitution of Belize as he swore to uphold. Prime Minister of Belize, Honorable Mr. John Briceño, appears to be getting power drunk, announcing a constitutional reform commission, which have been revised to a PCC, a People's Constitutional Commission, to reform the Constitution of Belize into a more pliable document so as to aggregate the government of Belize some additional powers that is presently vested in the people of Belize and the constitutional and constitutionally protected. It's a harbinger of things to come, or what is to come. That is, riddance of existing constraints on government from the Constitution of Belize, as we currently know them, to possibly autocratic dictatorship, ministerial fiat governance before this current term is completed between 2020 to 2025. I went on to say, both major mass parties, being the UDP and the PUP, as government of Belize, have indulged in bastardization of the Constitution of Belize in various ways for different reasons and objectives, and at different times, whilst attempting to govern by fiat dictatorially, autocratically, by overreaching and aggregating to themselves and exercising punitive power with impunity at that. After Belize's independence, 21st of September 1981. And I closed off by saying, long live Belize and Belizeans at home and abroad. God bless Belize and Belizeans at home and abroad. That's my closing for tonight.
Go ahead, Greg, for your closing.
Greg?
Go ahead, Greg.
Greg, mic is off. I don't know why.
Go ahead, Greg.
I think your mic was off.
My closing, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
My closing is this. When they go to the cabinet to draft legislation, whatever legislation they do, if you see that after they do that, business is going on as normal, it means that they have not tried to revise the definitive agreement. It means that they are coming back with the old dead horse, and they are blowing wind into the nostrils now, and it will stand up. So I want the people at home and abroad to pay keen attention to this, because if this is the intention of the Prime Minister with all honesty, I believe we, the people, should be in the streets because we don't want nothing secretive. If you said you are going to do legislation, pass legislation, and go back and come with a new foundation, let's start it all over again. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for another, very good educational, platform to the Belizean people, both at home and abroad, on matters that are affecting the Belizean people, directly affecting them. My closing for tonight, is we want to see a better government, man. A government that will fulfill their mandate, that will look out for the interests of the poor and less fortunate, that have love for people and nation, right? I'm looking to see a government that will start to, visit these grocery stores for price gouging, right? And address the issue of basic goods keep going up every week, goods and vegetables, that people use, that poor people live on, right? The constant rise on the fuel, right? These are things that are directly affecting the Belizean people, right? So, and stop the wasteful spending, the wastefulness of the Minister of Tourism. That $1 million or the millions he had spent on foreign artists, he could have find somewhere else for that money to go that will directly benefit the Belizean people, right? Things like these that is uncalled for, right? We want to see a better government, man, right? And stop the hamstrung the Belizean people, and everything you guys say and do is gazetted as law, right? You don't need to stop that, man, right? People are suffering out here, right? In terms of justice, where is justice in this country? And to who justice is catered to? These things need to be seriously, that should be a state of emergency, right? Poverty should be a case of emergency. The healthcare system should be a case of emergency, not the handful of black people in the south side, right? That is so not right, right? There are other crucial things that people are waiting to be for the system to address directly, that affecting the livelihood of the regular Belizean. I'm talking regular because I always say they are the upper class, that they could give a hoot, that they have the money and could survive. You understand what I'm saying? Who is looking out for the poor and less fortunate? We are yet to find a government that will do that. We're yet to find leaders that will do that. They're not around. That is my closing, and I want to thank you guys, for the education out there.
Mr. Wade, I think what he's trying to do is let the people unite like in Louisiana. My cousin know exactly what I'm talking about. Exactly. That might happen next, Well,
another Black Wednesday is brewing up, Mr. Prime Minister. Another Black Wednesday is brewing up in your northern towns, in your northern district. Take heed. Good night, guys.
Nice.
Good night, guys. Good night to the people at home and abroad.
Thank you for your passion, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, to guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg, for.
Well, guys, see if I'm right on this one. So far, I've been on a roll. Everything I said came to pass. Let's see if I'm right on this Friday's one now. All right.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night. Go ahead, Leonard.
You guys need to hang out for.
We'll stay around a bit.